his offer. Children darted behind their mothers' skirts, and even the drunks leaned forward, sobered by the sight of a woman bound and tethered like cargo. Clara felt their stares burning into her, and shame swelled in her chest. Though she had done nothing wrong, she wanted to cry out, to tell them she was no slave, no property. But the words caught in her throat as Amos dismounted with a swagger, dragging her by the rope toward the saloon. The batwing doors slammed open under his hand, and he hauled her inside. Smoke hung thick in the air, curling up toward the rafters where lanterns burned low. The smell of sweat, whiskey, and dust pressed against her senses, making her stomach turn. Every head turned toward them, conversations dying mid-sentence. A card game froze, one player's cigar trembling between his fingers. "Gentlemen," Amos declared, puffing up his chest, "I bring you an opportunity this town ain't seen in years. My sister here is strong, healthy, fine to look at, and knows her work. I'm offering her to the highest bidder." Clara flinched at the words, the humiliation sharper than the rope cutting her wrists. A murmur rippled through the room as some voices outraged, others tinged with interest. At the back corner of the saloon, where the shadows thickened and the smoke curled slow and lazy, a man sat alone. His boots rested on a chair, his hat tipped low, and a cigarette glowed between his fingers. He had been listening to the piano with half an ear, watching the night settle beyond the windows, until Amos' announcement drew his gaze. He lifted his eyes, gray and cool as weathered stone, and studied the scene. The woman Clara stood proud despite her bindings, her face pale but her jaw firm. Not broken, not yet. The kind of spirit men like Amos sought to crush. The cowboy known to most simply as Collier leaned forward, exhaling smoke in a slow ribbon. He did not yet speak, but his presence was felt. "Name your price," Amos barked, shoving Clara forward as though to display her figure like livestock at auction. The room shifted, discomfort mingling with greed. One man at the bar muttered, "Ain't right, sellin' kin." Another, more drunk than decent, chuckled and asked, "What's she worth then?" Amos' lips curled. $200. A collective hiss of breath filled the saloon. That was a fortune in Dry Creek, more money than most men here would see in a year. But Amos, desperate and cruel, knew that the shock of his audacity gave him power. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Cole rose from his seat, slow and deliberate. The chair legs scraped against the floor. The sound sharpened the silence. He adjusted his hat, flicked ash from his cigarette, and crossed the room with unhurried steps. When he stood before Amos, he looked not at him, but at Clara. Her eyes met his, startled, searching, filled with both hope and dread. In that single glance, he read her story. A woman betrayed, dignity hanging by a thread, but fire still burning beneath the fear. "I'll pay it," Cole said at last, his voice deep, calm, carrying like the crack of a whip through the room. "Every cent." Amos' mouth twisted into a grin, greedy light dancing in his eyes. 200. "You got it?" Without a word, Cole reached into his saddlebag, pulled free a pouch, and dropped it onto the bar. The coins and folded bills spilled out with a heavy clink, the sound echoing like judgment. The saloon held its breath. Amos lunged, scooping the money into his coat with frantic fingers. "She's yours then," he spat, already drunk on the thought of his newfound fortune. But Cole didn't lay claim as Amos expected. Instead, he drew his knife from his belt, its edge flashing in the lamplight, and with the single swift motion, he cut through the ropes at Clara's wrists. The frayed cords fell away, and Clara staggered, free for the first time since dawn. Her skin bore red welts where the rope had rubbed, but her spirit surged at the gesture. Cole sheathed the knife, then shrugged off his long duster coat and draped it gently over her shoulders. To the room, it might have looked like a claim. To Clara, it felt like protection. "You walk beside me now," he said, his words meant for her ears alone. His gaze softened, his tone edged with something rare respect. "No man owns you, but if you'll have it, I'll call you mine, not as chattel broken bar but as partner." Clara's breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not even in her days of freedom before Amos' ruin. She searched his face, trying to find deception, but all she saw was a man carved of hard living, offering something steady in a world that had turned cruel. The room watched in stunned silence as Cole led her toward the door. Behind them, Amos clutched his coins, Blind to the weight of what he had surrendered, Clara glanced back once, her heart aching with the bitter truth. Blood had sold her, but the stranger had given her dignity. Outside, the air was cooler, the night sky spread wide with stars. Clara pulled the coat tighter around her shoulders, feeling both shielded and unsettled. She walked beside the cowboy, unsure of what tomorrow held, but knowing for the